On Memorial Day, we pay tribute to the veterans who made the ultimate sacrifice in service to our country. But this year, with social distancing and health concerns due to the coronavirus, many observances in communities have been canceled or even altered.
Joining us now is Cory Mills, a U.S. Army veteran and NEWSMAX writer. Cory, good to see you. Thank you for your service. We just saw President Trump at Arlington Cemetery acknowledging and participating in the wreath-laying ceremony here. It was a bit different this year because everyone was so spread out. What do you think the changes will be because of the pandemic for this Memorial Day?
You know, this Memorial Day, unfortunately, has been continually looked at as a 3-day-long weekend or barbecue day. I don't think that it changes anything with regards to the proper meaning of what this is and our acknowledgement and our memories that we basically recall for the brave men and women who are willing to sacrifice so much. You know, so many Americans, in my opinion, forget that these men and women, they sacrificed 2 lives, the lives that they were living and the lives that they would have lived. You know, these freedoms and liberties that we have, as President Reagan and others have said, they're not free. They come at a cost. And, you know, pandemic or no pandemic, I think that it's a time to solemnly sit and just, you know, reflect on all those brave men and women and the sacrifices that's been made.
So much has changed in just a matter of months, Cory. In fact, the Boy Scouts of America, other groups, they're banned from placing flags on veterans' grave sites after the VA banned mass flag placements at national cemeteries due to the virus. What do you think about that?
You know, I watched a young man who he volunteered to go out alone and place flag after flag on those rows and rows of headstones. And I find that, you know, this is being somewhat politicized. I think that they are going to certain extremes on this. I think there are safe ways. I mean, again, if we can classify certain businesses as being, you know, mission essential, if we can classify various clinics to be life-preserving, then I certainly don't see why, you know, we couldn't take the time and find a safe manner in which we can honor these brave men and women.
Yeah, you mentioned the politics of it all, and it seems that that's kind of played out in the coronavirus crisis. And also this, some veterans, they're blasting the New York Times after the editorial board published this piece over the weekend. Why does the U.S. military celebrate white supremacy? In it, the Times editorial board writes of the Confederate flag, quote, "This same toxic legacy clings to the 10 United States military installations across the South that were named for Confederate Army officers during the first half of the 20th century." Cory, this was published over Memorial Day weekend, a time where we honor military men and women of all colors who made the ultimate sacrifice defending our nation. What were you thinking about when reading this headline and piece?
You know, to be honest, it's as our president has continued to combat and battle. You know, we don't have credible news stations like NEWSMAX and all the others who are willing to state the facts. You have Washington Post who, you know, makes outlandish claims. You've got the New York Times who comparing, you know, the military to a white supremacist group is almost just completely absurd, not worth a response. You know, the reality is that if you're ever going to find true pluralism, you're going to find it within the United States military. You know, I stood shoulder to shoulder with men of all colors, and I was willing to give my life for them as quickly as they were for me. And there's no one who's going to tell me that, oh, it's a link between white supremacy or Confederacy. Listen, the reality is this. You know, I watched in Richmond, Virginia, where they were tearing down the equestrian squares. You know, erasing history, you know, doesn't necessarily mark it off. And if anything, it's a great reminder for everyone so that we don't repeat those mistakes again. So, you know, I don't want to give a whole lot of credence to the New York Times and these claims. You know, the person who probably wrote this has never served a single day in the military and knows what it is to really sacrifice. But from my perspective, these men and women who continue to serve today and who have served prior and who will serve in the future, we don't look at race, color, ethnicity, or religious belief. We look at the fact that you're a brother in arms and you're willing to stand side by side and do what's necessary to protect and fight for our liberties.
Listen, if I had a room full of people, we'd be applauding right now. That was very well said. Cory, switching topics here, Memorial Day, it's now. How are you commemorating this day? Let us come into your plans, if you will. Beautiful scenery you got going behind you, by the way.
Thank you. Yes, I hope it had a little sunshine with it. It'd be a lot better so we could get into the pool. But, you know, today is spent like most days. My 2 sons and my wife and I, one of our favorite Memorial Day speeches is by President Reagan himself. And I can't help but watch the way that he looks at things. And he tells, one of the most, probably my favorite things, he talks about our adversaries and the fact that no one is more willing to sacrifice. No one's been more willing to pay the ultimate price than America. And he also goes on to really highlight that, for people who say that they don't find heroes or they don't see heroes, go visit the rows and rows of headstones in Arlington Cemetery marked with various religious crosses, Stars of David, the crescent moon of Islam. I mean, these are all people who were willing to lay down their life and die. And that's something that my wife and I and my kids, we always honor. My 5-year-old, I take him to school up at the Langley School when it was open, and we passed by a row of American flags. And I always ask him, I said, Noah, can you tell me what this stands for? And he'll very quietly look at me and go, Dad, that's freedom.
That is awesome. Chills just thinking about it. And it's so true. A great reminder to honor our military men and women who have made that ultimate sacrifice today and every day. That's Cory Mills. He's a U.S. Army veteran and NEWSMAX writer. Cory, thanks so much. Take care.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great Memorial Day, and let us not forget those who sacrificed for our freedoms.